following podcast is brought to you by your friends at myactsofsedition.com. We hope you enjoy it. Question: how gratifying has it been seeing the results of your work these last few years? Let me answer this question by asking a question and then answering it for both of us. Besides myself and Fane Lozman, open parentheses, Google him, he's amazing, close parentheses, name another, quote, citizen corruption fighter, end quote. No doubt there are others who do extremely wonderful work. Charlotte Greenberg, Mike Butler, and Dave Smith come quickly to mind. But their gig isn't solely corruption. Think about a corrupt government official. With their actions, they are breaking the law. Do you think they'll go gently into the night? They are liable to push back, and push back hard. Hell, 3 weeks ago, Portier wanted to raise cash to sue me for libel. By the way, I offered the first $250 for her fund. She never took me up on the offer. Last night, officials from Deerfield Beach called me and indicated they were extremely concerned for my, quote, physical safety, end quote. I have a BSO deputy running by my house many times a day. For a private citizen to challenge the establishment, especially the black establishment, is not for the meek of heart. It is a Sisyphusian task that requires nearly limitless courage. Along the way with my blogging, I've endured threats of physical violence. I'm always on the lookout in the mail for a lawsuit, and traveling around town, I've been taught to become now situationally aware. Just last week, my family dog was poisoned, and he's still not out of the woods. I was told my, quote, heckling, end quote, of Sylvia was unprofessional. Really? I've spent thousands of hours over the last 2.5 years digging into Portier with no pay. Last time I looked, my heckling might be the only, quote, bonus, end quote, this job offers. Do I think I made a mistake shouting out to her? Yup. The mistake I made was not to bring a megaphone. When she's picked up for those felony charges, I'll make sure to bring one along. Besides, I was on my best behavior. I didn't drop a single F-bomb, which, in my mind, is a major accomplishment and perhaps a personal record. What will be gratifying will be finishing up my book entitled Making a Difference, an instructional guidebook that teaches amateur activists proven techniques for taking their fight from the kitchen table to City Hall. It took me years to learn the lessons I impart in this book, but I'll deliver them in a text that readers can finish in just about an hour. Question 2. What motivates you? Complaining about citizen apathy is a common refrain. Yelling on the internet is now vogue. But actually getting out there and making a difference, that's a very rare event. Folks say that I'm unusual. I agree. Heck, I'll even go as far as to say I'm completely nuts. To do what I do is not for the average person. It takes an extraordinarily special individual to stand up against corruption and say, not on my watch. Kessler International, the forensic auditing firm that investigated Deerfield Beach, Pompano Beach, Fort Pierce, and now Lauderdale Lakes, recognized my efforts and created the Chaz Award. The Chaz Award, as defined by Kessler's press release on April 12, 2011, goes like this. Quote, there are those of us who sit around and wait for good things to happen to them, and then there are those of us who take matters into their own hands and cause a change for the better. Timothy Chaz Stevens, a Florida activist, has inspired Kessler International to create the Chaz, an award which will be bestowed annually to an activist with a proven track record in pursuing and exposing governmental corruption. The Chaz Award is designed to encourage activism and involvement by applauding the achievements of those who have initiated change and increased awareness and accountability in their community. End quote. Mr. Mayo, I've been a very long-time fan of yours, and I've really come to admire your work. With absolutely no disrespect intended, one major advantage of being Mike Mayo versus Chaz Stevens is that you receive a paycheck, have benefits and a pension, and a major establishment with a fleet of lawyers on call. Me, I got my dad, a couple of lawyers named Tommy and Spencer, my laptop, and my dog. What sane person would spend thousands of hours all in the really thin hope that their work would bring down a corrupt politician? A corrupt politician who also happens to be a very powerful and well-loved black woman. What motivates me? No one else stepped to the plate, and my parents taught me to do the right thing. Portier diverted money for her family members, money that could have helped the poorest of the poor. That wasn't right, and I put a stop to it. Question 3. Have you noticed a shift in how you're perceived by politicians, officials, and prosecutors? Is there a growing sense of fear or respect amongst those who might have initially belittled, discredited, or ignored you? You think? About 2 years ago, I was up visiting University of South Florida. Cruising around the campus, I about shit myself when I noticed someone was wearing a My Acts of Sedition t-shirt. First Che Guevara, now Chaz Stevens. I always knew that I would be subjected to a constant barrage of ad hominem attacks. I factored that into my equation, firmly believing in my investigative work. A year ago, it was Chaz Stevens lunatic. Now it's Chaz Stevens lunatic who brought down 3 corrupt politicians. People in power have always been reading MAOS, and now they're calling me. Case in point, my work investigating the Deerfield Beach Housing Authority. That agency spent over $60,000 in 6 months for legal fees in an attempt to prevent a forensic auditing firm, open parentheses Kessler, close parentheses, and myself from peering into their books. That game is afoot, and I believe in the future will be more fodder for your column. Are they paying attention to me? Bring up Mr. Timothy Donnelly, mention my name, and then judge for yourself his level of attention and respect. The last question. Do you think this new age of internet watchdog activism, open parentheses, where not just traditional media can dig out wrongdoing, close parentheses, will lead to a better behavior by our elected officials? On the local level, I think my brand of activism will have a profound effect on local governments. Folks on the dais are definitely minding their P's and Q's. In fact, here in Deerfield Beach, I'm the 6th man on that dais. Those officials know if they screw up, I'll find out, and they'll be held to pay. But it's important to keep in mind your paper's role. It is critical that activists like myself have a strong foundation and relationship with the mainstream media. I am more than happy to do the heavy lifting, but without your support, open parentheses, aka writing, close parentheses, getting the word out is that much more difficult. Thanks for listening. The following podcast has been a presentation of myactsofsedition.com. Copyright 2011.